It's time for the Community Art Showcase! But first, I have something important to tell you. Obligatory April 1st rollings of the Ricks aside, before we get into your submissions for this Community Art Showcase, we must, of course, give you your prompt for the next one. And so, for the next Community Art Showcase, due at the end of the month, that being April 30th, your prompt is Hidden Wonder. So, if you want to take part in the next Community Art Showcase, make something with the prompt of Hidden Wonder, and you can send it to me through the channel Discord as usual, or you can also post your submission to Bluesky and @ me on it, because I am now on Bluesky, mostly to cross-post the stuff from the main and side channels. But I'm here now, and if you'd prefer to use Bluesky over Discord, you can send me stuff here. Or, if you know how to work Tumblr better than I currently do, and there's a way to set it up to where I will see your submissions through it, you could also send it to me on Tumblr, because I'm also there now, for the exact same reason as Bluesky. So, you got 2 new ways to submit your stuff to the showcase, or just reach out if you want to ask me something, I guess. But prompts of Hidden Wonder and new socials aside, it's time to see what you've done for the free-for-all that is the Wildcard Community Art Showcase. Starting off from Obese Rat 44, we have Huggy Wuggy from Poppy Playtime, aka mascot horror character number 3 from current mascot horror game number 7. No shade to you, Beast Rat. Mascot horror genre seems pretty samey to me. About the only thing interesting to come out of it, from my perspective, is the Press Start to Laugh series, but that doesn't help with them all blurring together because, yeah. That said, I do know what the actual character looks like, and you have captured them pretty dang faithfully. It is nicely done. I quite like your wetness highlighting and drool strangules, but of course there are a few things I can point out that might help you improve a little bit. I can see you're using markers, so I'll try to keep that in mind with what I'm describing here. Given how your overlapping markers are darkening up right here, if you were to take your marker as the same blue marker you're using and run it along the areas where there would be a bit of a shadow, like along under the neck. A bit more on that side. Let's say the light's coming this way. Do a bit of shadowing under the neck, along the back side of the shoulders, along the edges of your stuff, your hair tufts, leaving one, and when you get to the higher up parts, leaving one bit, like one side of your hair tuft lighter and one darkened. Something like that. And you can also do the same under your lips just a little, given that they are, sticking out. And then maybe a little bit around the eyes. Something like that. Push their depth a bit. That gives you a bit more dimensionality to it. And I mean, I was going a little heavy-handed with it, a little rough on it, mostly because I'm used to digital art and being able to erase. I do that more than anything else. But doing something like that should work fairly well. Second thing we can bring up is your eye highlights. Right now, you pretty much just have them as a dot dead center. But if I darken your existing ones out, there's two other ways we can go about doing the eye highlights that I think will read a little bit better. Either you can just do a little off to the side, smaller dots, like about something like that. Still gives us it's a wet surface but it now reads as a lot more rounded, and it keeps the creepy, soulless look. Or we backtrack that a bit. Given that this is like possessed children's toy, I know it's not actually, possessed, but like messed up child experiments or something to that effect, we give it a bit bigger edge highlights around the sides like this, giving it a more watery baby doll eye look. If you wanted it to read more cute than creepy in the eyes, which again, kid's toy, monster, works a little bit better. It also works, Two different ways we can make the eyes a little bit better. Either more creepy soulless, or more, this was supposed to be a children's toy before everything went, shoving children's souls into toys or whatever they did. But again, aside from those two things I pointed out, you did a really good job. It's been awesome seeing you grow and improve throughout these art showcases, and I hope you stick around for them for a long time to come. But from a repeating artist to a newcomer to the series, from Lipik28, we have Mindwave Overdose. This one, I really like this one. You've got an interesting background going on. You've got the channel color scheme. And overall, it's pretty cool looking. Even, for some reason, it's going to sound a little weird, but for some reason, it reminds me of the Negativitron from Little Big Planet 2. I have no idea why my brain's going to the Negativitron, but it is. And I can tell there's some kind of story going on here, but I'm not one for conundrums of philosophy, so I can't exactly tell you what that story is, but it looks cool. When it comes to matters of the constructive criticism, of course, as previously, we could do a bit more when it comes to shading if you wanted to, which, for this one, the more flat shading does work for this, but if you wanted to, we could just give me eyedropper your darker your darker inner coat color here, and if you just on one side, let me make that a bit smaller, were to just follow along the outer thing of your coat here, something like that there, just do the underside here, a little bit on edges of the coat, a little bit on undersides of the arms. Again, I'm doing this super rough just to illustrate what I'm talking about. Not going for, the actual precision of doing it, just illustrating my point. A little bit of shading like that, or maybe even on this side of the coat, fully taking the shadow all the way across. Kind of like so. And on the inner part of the shirt, we can just eyedrop the colors you use and just go probably a little darker, but again, just probably do a little lighter green than this. I'm just illustrating the point. Same deal right here, just drop the dark a bit, give a shadow cast by your coat onto the inner shirt. Pretty much do much the same for basically everything else. Just eyedrop your color, go a little bit darker, and then just shadow it wherever makes sense, pretty much. Go as intricate with that as you want. If you want to add even darker, extra shadows, you can just grab your shadow color, darken it further, do it again. The only other suggestion I can offer for you is to work on your hands a bit, but that is a little hypocritical of me because I also cannot do hands, so I do not blame you for your hands being twisted, broken things, because my hands are also twisted, broken things. Hands are awful. And there's something both of us need to work on if we're being honest. But again, I do really like it. It's very cool. But moving on from the submissions from my wider audience, we go now to the submissions from my far closer audience. And by that, I mean family members. And as such, we have this painting from my sister. I really like this one. Apparently to the point where my tracking has broken and I need to close VC Face and reopen it to try and fix that. Give me a second. Okay, tracking's back, but now I am down here for some reason. Hang on. Doop. Okay. That's better. As I was saying, I do really like this one. To the point where I barely have any kind of suggestion. Honestly, I do feel that this one genuinely works as is, for the most part. Artistic styles and all that. Now, if I was the one doing it, and this is down to pure personal at this point, but if I was the one doing this, I would probably have a bit more variation in the color scheme, bring in some highlights to the burrow, in the hills, something like that, and have maybe a bit more of your yellow color on the upper edge of your fox. But again, that's just me. Honestly, I think this works well just as its as the base painting. You did really good on this one. Now for your other submission, this one's a bit rougher. You got nice fading off into the dark water. I like that. But, like, going on this whole episode, usually that's the way things end up being. I do feel like you could use some more shading work. Take a moderately darker version of your thing. Shade the edges. The sides. Give it a bit more dimensionality. Same thing I've been talking about pretty much the entirety of this one. Again, I'm just doing this real rough at this point because I've talked about shading pretty much the entire video. You guys probably get the point already. Still, it's not bad. Like I said, I do like how you have it fading off into the darkness of the waters, but I do think your painting turned out better. Up next, from one of my cousins, we have this Mosasaurus sketch, which I really like. You've got a nice dynamic swooshing pose going on. You've got decent shading, everything. Real good. I like this one. Not much to say constructively in terms of the art itself, but when it comes to your taking the picture of the art, instead of doing it like this, where you're right up over in front of your page and casting a big shadow on it, you should instead take your picture from higher up and further back and just zoom in on what you're taking the picture of. That way there's not nearly as much shadow on it. Aside from that, though, again, nicely done. From my other cousin, we have what I have dubbed, in the sanctity of my own mind, the Bambegasus. I like it, but my voice is starting to die after recording multiple takes of everything for the last several hours now, so I gotta speed through these last two. In the interest of that, as I've covered previously, shading, a little bit more. You could also have a bit more saturation of your colors in your penciling. You could go over them and cross-hatch it a bit more so that there's not as much white shine of the paper coming through. And you could blend your brown of the brown of your body into the white of your wings and feathers a bit. And finally, you could go over your line work a little bit more and darken it a bit so it's more visible if you wanted your line work more visible. But again, I like it. And on to the final entry, hopefully before I lose the ability to speak for the next 3 hours, is this abstract carving from my brother. I think part of the issue here lies with my photo taking of it. I don't think I got the best angle. It looks a bit more animal-like if you rotate it slightly from how it is. That's on me. I'm not super versed in how to critique a sculpture, though. I used to try to do carving a long time ago, but it's been several years since the last time I whittled anything. I've told you before my thoughts on it more. Yeah, I can't really say much more. My voice is gone. Yeah. Next community art showcase is on the prompt Hidden Wonder. Submit your stuff either through the Discord, Bluesky, or if you can figure it out, Tumblr, by the end of the 30th. If you want to be in the next one, I need a lozenge. What are you still doing here? The video's over. There might be some for you up there, or some for you over there, but there's nothing left here, so hit the YouTube buttons and move on.